You know what's terrifying? Lying in bed at night, realizing you just wasted an entire weekend, and you can't remember a single thing that made you genuinely smile. You weren't lazy. You were busy. Busy scrolling. Busy refreshing. Busy looking for anything that would make you feel alive. And it never came. And here's the shameful thought you whisper to yourself but never say out loud: maybe real life just isn't fun anymore. Maybe I'm just not a fun person. Maybe I'm broken. Stop right there. Because that thought, that is the lie. And if it hit you just now, if you felt that familiar sting of self-judgment, keep listening. Because the truth isn't that you're boring. The truth is that you are caught in a machine. A multi-billion-dollar machine designed by the world's smartest psychologists, engineers, and behavioral scientists. Their only goal? To keep your eyes glued to a screen for as long as humanly possible. Today, we are exposing every single layer of that machine. The design tricks, the biological hijacking, the conditioning loops, and more importantly, we are going to dismantle it so your actual life becomes so deeply magnetically satisfying, you won't even have time to think about scrolling. This isn't about discipline. This isn't about willpower. This is about understanding the war being waged for your attention and learning how to win it back. It starts with a single, uncomfortable question: what if the numbness you feel isn't a personal failure, but a designed outcome? Let's start with the machine itself. Your phone. Every app, every notification, every design choice. These were not created to make your life better. They were created to extract your attention. And attention in the digital economy is the most valuable currency in the world. Your attention is being auctioned off to advertisers. And the apps that capture the most of it win. So how do they do it? First, infinite scroll. There is no bottom. No natural stopping point. When you reach the end of a feed, you expect it to stop like the end of a book or the end of a conversation. But it doesn't. It just keeps loading. And loading. And loading. This design choice alone is responsible for hours of unconscious scrolling. You never get the satisfaction of completion. Second, variable rewards. This is the slot machine mechanism. You don't know what's coming next. A funny video? A sad post? An ad? A notification from someone you like? The unpredictability keeps your brain locked in a state of anticipation. And anticipation is the most potent driver of dopamine. The possibility of something interesting is often more addictive than the thing itself. Third, pull to refresh. That little gesture where you drag your finger down to load new content? That's a conditioning ritual. It teaches your brain that you have control over when the reward arrives. You pull. You receive. Pull, receive, the intermittent reinforcement of maybe something good will be there this time is the most powerful form of behavioral conditioning known to psychology. Fourth, notifications. These are digital doorbells. They create a sense of urgency. A red badge, a vibration, a sound, these trigger a stress response. Your brain releases cortisol, the stress hormone. And the only way to relieve that stress is to check the notification. You are being chemically manipulated into needing to check your phone. This isn't accidental. These features were developed in behavioral labs with PhDs on staff whose entire job is to maximize your screen time. You are not fighting a habit. You are fighting a professional, well-funded, data-driven machine. Now let's talk about the social layer, because it's even more insidious. Your brain evolved to care deeply about social standing. For 200,000 years, being accepted by your tribe meant survival. Rejection meant death. So your brain developed a hypersensitive system for tracking social approval. Social media hijacked that system. Every like, every comment, every share, these are social validation signals. And your brain treats them exactly like it treated a smile from a tribe member 100,000 years ago. It releases dopamine. It feels good. It makes you want more. But here's the dark twist. Social media gives you intermittent validation. Sometimes you post something and get hundreds of likes. Sometimes you get 2. The unpredictability is deliberate. It's the same mechanism as a slot machine. You keep posting, keep checking, keep refreshing, hoping for that big payout. But there's a deeper wound. You are watching everyone else's highlight reel while comparing it to your behind the scenes. You see vacations, promotions, perfect relationships, amazing bodies, and you subconsciously believe that everyone else is happier, more successful, more loved than you. This is the comparison trap. And it's not accidental. It's engineered. The algorithms are designed to show you content that triggers envy, because envy keeps you engaged. Envy makes you scroll more. Envy makes you post more. Envy makes you try to compete for validation, but you can't win, because the highlight reel isn't real. It's curated, filtered, manufactured, and comparing your messy, complicated real life to someone else's polished projection is a recipe for misery. The apps don't want you to feel good about yourself. They want you to feel inadequate. Because inadequacy drives engagement, and engagement drives profit. Now let's connect the external manipulation to your internal biology. Your brain has a reward system centered around a chemical called dopamine. But dopamine isn't the pleasure chemical, it's the anticipation chemical. It's what makes you say, "Ooh, something interesting might happen next." Every swipe, every refresh, every new notification triggers a micro hit of dopamine. Your brain loves novelty. It always has. Historically, novelty meant survival, new food, new dangers, new opportunities. But here's the problem. Your brain is a nightclub. Dopamine is the music. If the music is always at maximum volume, eventually you go deaf. That's exactly what's happening. Your brain, overwhelmed by the constant flood of digital novelty, has literally turned down the volume on your dopamine receptors to protect itself. The result? You need more scrolling to feel the same tiny buzz. And the quiet, slow, burning pleasures of real life, a walk in the sun, a deep conversation, the satisfaction of finishing a task stop registering entirely. They become background noise. This is why real life tastes like cardboard. Not because cardboard is bad, but because your taste buds are fried. You're not depressed, you're desensitized. Your brain has been force-fed digital candy for so long that it has forgotten what real food tastes like. That hollow feeling after 2 hours of scrolling, that isn't boredom. That is the sound of a starved brain begging for something with actual nutritional value. Here's another layer you haven't considered. Real life requires effort. And effort has become deeply, dangerously unfamiliar to you. Your brain is a master accountant. It's constantly running a cost-benefit analysis. Scrolling costs you nothing. A thumb that moves half an inch. Eyes that stay half open. The cost is zero. The reward is instant. Now compare that to doing something real. Cooking a meal from scratch. Picking up a guitar. Going for a run. These things require work. And your accountant brain looks at that and says, absolutely not. That's a terrible return on investment. You interpret that signal as laziness. But it's not. It's effort aversion. It's your brain doing exactly what it evolved to do, conserve energy at all costs. But here's the psychological twist that changes everything. Effort is not the enemy of pleasure. It is the price of admission. And more than that, it is the source of the pleasure. Your brain doesn't release dopamine for things that come easily. It releases dopamine for things you worked for. The effort itself is what makes the reward taste sweet. Think about it. Why does a meal you cooked yourself taste better than takeout? Why does climbing a hill feel more satisfying than driving over it? Because your brain paid attention to the effort. It registered the struggle. And it rewards you for surviving it. The feeling of, I don't feel like doing anything, isn't a sign that you're broken. It's a sign that your brain has been conditioned to avoid the very thing that would actually make it feel alive. You are avoiding the cure, because the cure tastes like work. Let's add another layer, one you probably don't even notice. How much time do you spend deciding what to watch? How many Netflix menus have you scrolled through before giving up and watching something you've already seen? How many times have you opened an app store, looked at millions of options, and felt paralyzed? This is choice overload. And it's exhausting. Your brain has a limited amount of decision-making energy each day. Psychologists call this decision fatigue. Every choice you make, even small ones, depletes your cognitive reserves. By the time you've decided what to eat, what to wear, what to watch, what to read, you're mentally drained. The apps exploit this. They offer infinite choice, endless feeds, unlimited videos, and the sheer volume of options overwhelms your decision-making capacity. Instead of feeling excited, you feel exhausted. You default to the path of least resistance, whatever the algorithm serves up next. This is why you can scroll for 2 hours and feel like you did nothing. Because you weren't making choices. You were being fed. Passive consumption. No agency, no decision, no engagement. And the apps love this. Because a passive, exhausted user is a predictable user. A predictable user is a profitable user. There's another weapon in the arsenal. FOMO, fear of missing out. Social media creates a constant stream of information about what everyone else is doing. Every post is a signal that something happened and you weren't there. Every story expires in 24 hours, creating urgency. Every live video is happening right now. And if you're not watching, you're missing it. This is a manufactured anxiety. The platforms literally create a sense of incomplete information. You feel like you need to check. Because if you don't, you might miss something important. You might be out of the loop. You might lose social status. But here's the truth. You are missing 99.999% of what happens in the world. And you're okay with that. You don't know what's happening in 1,000 villages in India right now. You don't know what your neighbor 2 streets down is eating for breakfast. And you don't care. The only difference between that and a post from your friend is proximity. The algorithm makes you feel like you should care. It makes you feel like you're falling behind. But you're not. You're just being exploited by a system that profits from your anxiety. And here's the real kicker. FOMO is always about the past. You're worried about what you already missed. But you're missing right now because you're worried about what you missed. It's a self-perpetuating loop. You sacrifice the present moment for the illusion of control over a past you cannot change. Now let's talk about the algorithm itself. These platforms don't show you what's true. They don't show you what's important. They show you what will keep you engaged. And what keeps you engaged? Content that triggers emotion. Outrage, anger, disgust, fear, excitement, validation. The algorithm learns your emotional triggers and feeds you more of what makes you feel. Not what makes you think, what makes you feel. This creates an echo chamber. You see more of what you already believe, more of what you already want, more of what you already fear. Your worldview becomes narrower, more extreme, more polarized. And you become more dependent on the app to validate your worldview. You're not getting information, you're getting confirmation. And your brain releases dopamine for confirmation. Because confirmation feels safe. It feels like being right. It feels like belonging to a tribe. But it's a prison of comfort, a prison of agreement. A prison that keeps you scrolling for the next hit of yes, exactly, I knew it. So how do you escape? Here's the most practical rule I can give you. The 10-minute rule. When you start any activity that requires sustained attention, reading, cooking, playing an instrument, even just sitting outside there is a wall, a barrier. For the first 10 to 15 minutes, your brain fights you. It sends signals, this is boring. This is pointless. This is hard. Go back to the phone. There's something interesting there. I promise. This is the attention threshold. And most people never cross it. They interpret that initial discomfort as proof that the activity isn't for them. They quit. They pick up the phone. And they reinforce the belief that real life is inherently less interesting than the screen. But if you push past that 10-minute wall, something shifts. Your brain stops fighting. It stops looking for escape. It settles into the activity. The world narrows. Self-consciousness fades. And you enter what psychologists call a flow state. Flow is when time disappears, when you're so fully engaged that you forget to check your notifications. When you're not thinking about whether you're having fun, you're just having it. The boredom isn't a sign that the activity isn't fun. It's a sign that your brain hasn't crossed the threshold yet. The withdrawal symptoms are the price of entry. And if you can just survive the 10 minutes, you get the reward. So next time you feel that familiar pull toward the screen, make a deal with yourself. 10 minutes. Just 10 minutes of presence. If it still feels awful after 10 minutes, you can quit, but you have to cross the threshold first. I promise you the fun is on the other side of that discomfort. You just have to be brave enough to be bored for a moment. Let's bring this home. You are not lazy. You are not broken. You are not incapable of joy. You are a human being with a brain that has been placed in a hostile environment. An environment designed by the world's smartest psychological engineers to extract your attention, exploit your biology, and keep you scrolling. Your reward system has been hijacked by variable rewards. Your social anxiety has been weaponized by validation loops. Your decision-making energy has been depleted by choice overload. Your emotional landscape has been distorted by algorithmic echo chambers. And you've been blaming yourself for all of it. But it's not a personal failure. It's a designed outcome. The good news? Once you see the machine, it loses its power. Once you recognize the dark patterns, the conditioning loops, the psychological tricks, you can start to dismantle them. Start small. One app, one notification, one scroll session. Ask yourself, is this serving me or is it serving them? Turn off notifications. Delete the apps that drain you. Set screen time limits. Create physical barriers. Put your phone in another room. Reclaim your attention. And most importantly, give your brain what it actually needs. Presence, effort, sustained attention. Real-world engagement. Start with 10 minutes. Just 10 minutes of doing something real. Let the discomfort wash over you. Trust that it's temporary. Trust that on the other side of that threshold, something is waiting for you. You don't need to find fun. You need to build it. With your attention, with your hands, with your presence. And when you do, when you rebuild that skill, when you reclaim your attention, when you cross that threshold day after day, something remarkable happens. Scrolling stops feeling like an escape. It starts feeling like a downgrade, like giving up a 5-course meal for a bag of chips. You won't have to force yourself to put the phone down, because your real life will be pulling at you, loudly, magnetizing you. You won't have time to scroll. You'll be too busy living, too busy building, too busy being present in a world that finally, for the first time in years, feels vivid again. That's not a fantasy. That's neurobiology. That's human psychology. That's the brain you were born with, finally getting what it was always meant to have. Go get it.